What's happening, audience? Huh? Doing good? Keeping it real? I hope so. You know, haha, today is the day to feel that uh, reduction in that challenge. We are coming out of it. You can feel it, right? Like it's obvious to me. This like time cycle that just come in and then just gradually comes out, and as it come in, it just kind of pushes you into darkness, and then you're just like diving in the abyss with it, right? And then you're like looking for these gems, and then if you go deep enough there, then there's this gem there, and you come out of it then with that gem on fire, and it's so cool. You see, I'm telling you, this is art. This art, the sorcery, alchemy, devotion. It is such a cool art. Everybody should be doing it. Everybody with this capacity, for sure. For sure. It's supposed to be, you know, ahead of brushing teeth. But it's not even visible, you know. It's not visible that because you're just playing with the energy, really, in the essence, you know, with your aperture as a soul, like what open up, how much, where, and you just keep on tuning that and going with that energy challenge that comes in. It's almost like, hey, there's a little puzzle to resolve for you, and you're like working with it, and then you resolve it, and you release a lot of energy, and then you can start creating with that energy. And so we are in this creative process, and this darkness that is kind of pushing us, it's allowing us to get to that bottom of it and to receive that gem, that thing that we're gonna now put it into the world. Okay, so if you stayed in the fire, or if you're a woman, you gave space to that thing and did not run away, which means like you did not go into some kind of pleasures and you shouldn't try and distract yourself from it. If that did not happen and you stayed with it and experienced fully, hopefully you found that space where there was this resolution of it. I had these moments. So, and then you come out and you're going to create something in the world. And when you come out with from that abyss, if you will, not the same anymore. You're not the same anymore. You come out and you're like, poof, your aura is different. You have like, you know, stripes or the, you know, like these people in the military like to stripe themselves with their achievements and all that. So it's like that, but for real. So anyway, you come out again out of this abyss, and your aura might be slightly different, and hopefully for the better, because that was an opportunity to be for the better. But if you don't pass these tests, like it can come out for a worse, it seems. Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's how important this is. Do you see, like, if that energy was used and wasted in some sort of other means, and put into the basket of the matrix that is actually gives you a coal, not a diamond. So this is why you have to have it. Listen. So check this out. Speaking of that aura that you come out with, it's vibration. And how do you know which aura you are? You are in, you're feeling it. and you're feeling that peace, bliss thing. And you know what? Like if you stay with it, it starts sparkling in colors. Like it's kind of like LSD-like state. You feel the sparkles. It's like that pyramid or the triangle reflecting the sunlight into the those. That's what it feels like. You know, and that's your aura. You're sparkling with that. Okay. I mean, the thing is that all you gotta do is just pay attention to these your diamonds that are already there in your heart. In your heart, in your gut, and in your head. But mainly coalescing at the heart. Then later it's just like the ocean that just splits up and down. But anyway, you see what I'm trying to say. And there's this unicorn rainbow type of state of consciousness. Right. Now, that state of consciousness contains the boundaries that are real, that you don't need to enforce anymore because they're real. You see? And this is why when you walk with that, your own aura, that is your boundary. This is how you function in this life. The reason it feels so good is because you are basically moving through these boundaries, and you don't allow bullshit in your life and all these things. Like you double down on the truth, the more bliss you feel. The more challenging is you know, but the more bliss you feel. And that's, and then when you emanate that bliss, that truth energy, which is a feeling, and it is type of bliss, orgasmic feeling. What else can I say about this? This is like, you know, like I said, sometimes in some certain motions, it is of, you know, that you are making love, basically, you know. Which is a crazy shit to say, but this is how what you feel like when you are in that state and expressing it. So crazy, right? But anyway, the point that I'm trying to make is that when people come into your life, super important, are you going to sacrifice that good of a feeling? Are you going to do that? Of course, the answer is no, you would not. This is why you should insist on being in that state whenever people are in front of you, even, right? Because they may bring this deceitful aura. You know, again, not that like there's a judgmental tone in this, it's just the way it is, right? And that deceitful aura may be burning in you, because if you continue maintaining that, don't let go of that bliss energy, that's power. Actually, you just need to stand with it. And so the people, then their made choice, if they want to join your aura, they have to be, whatever they have to be, they have to adjust to your aura. Okay. And of course, which aura is the best? The one that contains the most peace, bliss. Okay. This is why throughout all of these challenges you insist in that. Excuse me. But did I just say but? Whose but was I talking about? Alrighty, let's continue with this. Okay, so aura. speaking of this aura, which is a type of vibration, right? It's a language, guys. It's a language, but it's easiest way to understand it as a language. But it's heart language. It is the way you are, the way you are. That's what emanates out of your heart. That's the way it's there. It's truth. This is why you can never not see other people anymore, because you're feeling everything out with your heart. And so you can see when somebody's trying to apply the pressure on your aura to break and to accommodate theirs, you don't do it because you have the higher authority, because you're in a peace bliss and they are, whatever the fuck they are. So you don't let them energy to enter yours. You remain in your own energy. It's kind of a peace bliss, non-negotiable. You can feel their pressure is trying to take you out of your throne, but you're like, poof, no, this bitch is mine. My hand looks like holding ass, but no, stop that. Stop it. Anyway, let's go back. What was I talking about? Right. Language, guys, language. So there's a heart language that's going on. All the time we're speaking with each other in that language. And usually it's very simple. It is like that. Hey, match my frequency, match my vibe. And you being in your vibe can say okay, which is simping, or you can say no, this is the best vibe that I come up with up to this point in my life. Unless somebody's offering you better than that, then of course it's worth it. If you, for example, in their presence something awesome starts happening, then okay, then they are enhancing your aura. So you want to be with that person, where it's just like, you see, it's kind of easy, right? The people talk about love. It's just like when your auras are merging, and when your aura and their aura together create something that is infinitely better, then that's how you know that's real fucking deal. And when you're in that space, in that aura, in that peace, bliss, nothing is missing. So there's no fights, there's no nonsense. Everything is amazing. It's a marital bliss. I believe in marital bliss. I don't even believe it. I know it. It's mathematically, physically, metaphysically impossible that it ain't so. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. As a matter of fact, I will. Kids, do not do this at home, okay? Daddy can do this because Daddy earned this, bitch. Yeah. Know what I'm saying? Where are we at, my niggas? Right here. All right, okay. All right, so the vibe, man. And so fucking important, the real vibe that you fucking earn. It's not the vibe that you artificially try to create, which is just like a fart in the wind. It's not really that valuable. But this vibe that you're always in, right? And so it's very easy to see when you're meeting other people and you just stay in your language and you speak your language. You don't bend your language for other people. You see, you can have a degrees. What I've noticed is that there's a dial of decreasing into peace or more into bliss. That's the dial. 100% exist and real. Is what I actually do with my state of consciousness. I can go more in that peace, or I can go more in that bliss. It's a different focus, right? It's like that. It's that like everything I see as a toroidal field. This is why when I'm talking about these energies, I'm moving my energy. I'm opening my toroidal field, or then if like I'm trying to move more on the bliss, and it focuses like more on that. It's just my aperture of soul. I can do it, like, you know. Again, I can go into peace. And it's that background. It's almost like listening to peace, you know. And it's so freaking quiet. And it's not the noise, it's just the background of the vibrations. It's just like you relax your soul so much that it just rests into that background of everything. And it's like, oh, it's a complete rest. That's the, you know, that compassion, this is the thing that I was talking about. It's a feminine thing. You don't have to go into the fire. You can just lean back into that stillness, and you don't have to deal with any of this stuff. All of that fire just feels like glow and warmth, you know. And sometimes we have to do this, and sometimes we have to go into the fire. And we have to decide sometimes, like, okay, if you go into the fire and you're like, okay, this is too much impurities here, staying in the fire, burning as much as you can handle, right? Don't overburn it, but, and if it's just too much, go back into the, zoom out into that peace, passion, compassion, I mean. Sometimes it may, quote unquote, take time to adjust, but you move into a different state of consciousness for real, right? Damn, I wish there was like like they have these watches now that they're kind of showing everything what's going on with your body, you know, neurology, neurosis, everything, right? I would like to see the ones that are kind of can pick up your brain waves and show you the different state that you're in. And so that would be ideal in training your consciousness and moving to states can kind of measure. I don't know, maybe that would be useful to see that you're actually changing consciousness and how gradually and what you're happening to your brain waves, right? Like, I think that would be pretty cool. Now, you don't need this because you don't need it to say in what state you are because you feel it. I mean, duh, right? And you can feel it that like, okay, all right. So that's the toroidal field. This is a language, and you can speak it, okay? And so I'm learning to speak this language. And people talk light language, you know, and all that stuff. This is light language. It's not making sound. It's not doing anything. It's not even visual. Perhaps it can be visualized, but it is just the motions of energy. It's just like, for example, wind dynamics, right? Like if you look at the wind dynamics, and it would be like, okay, these are electromagnetic waves moving around, but you don't really see them, right? Unless they are moving something, and then you can see, or they're moving the leaves, and then you like can have a gauge that there's something. But the wind that could be happening, if there's no feedback of the wind, you don't know what's really happening there. So there's therefore like that type of awareness of that electromagnetic space of this, the wind of your soul is what it's doing. And so therefore you can control that language, right? And it is be moving between that intensity, you know, that center, or sitting back. And it's almost like an exercise. You can go in there and then you go out like that, and in that piece. And sometimes I'm becoming very aware. It's like, okay, something inside of me says, okay, just take it easy. Go into the compassion. Go into the compassion. Go into the compassion. And I'm like, okay, I can feel it that right now I need more of that warm background glow happening. Okay, and so that helps you to tune in into that perfect space. And another word of advice: if you are with people, the best thing to do is to be in that compassion, because your aura is quiet and it's peaceful. It's not moving, and that intensity is hidden within that peace. Okay, so you can stay in that compassion, and this is the least triggering to people. Nobody, um well, I shouldn't say nobody because it's not really true. um let's just say it is minimal chance that you're going to trigger people in a state of compassion. Okay, because if people don't like that type of energy, they naturally sort of like will move away from it, right? Or if they're not compatible with it, so they naturally will move away from it. But you are not going to experience that kind of, right? Because if you can go into the light, to the fire or light, then that's that blissful energy, and that can trigger people. I've seen it happening. And sometimes it's worth to go into it and conquer that demon that you detected with your light. And sometimes it's just best just go into the compassion, and that's it. Depends on if you want to slay the demon at that particular point. And I think that's what it is. It's just like this zooming, continuous zooming on it, and going into that fire, but not too far, going into that compassion as well, not just passion, right? And so you keep on equalizing, so you don't stay too much in the peace and you don't too much into the bliss. Like, you're trying to have that in betweenness of them. And that's probably the best way that I could describe of what's going on, because depending on time fractal, whatever it enters you, it may require more compassion in that particular moment, then it may require more passion in that particular moment, and you're just sort of like listening to the waves, and you sort of match them accordingly. It's awesome. That's what it is. It's just like it gives you that resolve this problem, and then you let your attention and awareness sort of do it by itself. They're resolving it, and when you resolve it, you're going to be in sort of between a peace and bliss state, and it's resolved now. And now that thing that was all sorts of turmoil and chaos, now it is peace bliss, and this is what's going to happen more in life. Okay, you basically found the demon and you transmuted it into an angel, and this is what we do. And it's all energetic, and it's amazing. It's real freaking deal. Alchemy is real, so real. I mean, that's why it's invisible, but it's felt. Like I said, right now I could go into the peace, or I can go into more bliss. And so then that sparkles. But at this particular time, I can feel that I have to go more into peace. And this is how we calibrate it, this is real meditation. And so there's this game of alchemy. So far, I'm the only thing that I could say that I'm dealing with those waves better, right? That's the only thing that I could say, that I'm dealing with them better. They're still there, but I'm dealing with them better because I've already dealt with a big chunk of it. So when it comes in to me, it's just a little adjustment rather than like a big depending on time, right? And so that's what I've noticed, that I just get better and better until this is just going to become sort of like natural, and you get so good that time fractals is still happening, but you're correcting for all of those time fractals. And honestly, I have to say that based on this theory is that you would need to keep correcting a little bit every time, every fractal. Like when you catch up, then the challenges will still happen because it's always changing, because it's always mysterious. Like you always have to be on that, unknown. So you will still gonna have to keep on facing some degree of that unknown. It's not gonna end. It feels amazing, so you don't mind. You just got really good at flowing with that energy and decoding it and making something that was yucky yummy. So, man, if I wrote a book about alchemy and open with this, make something that is yucky yummy, imagine the difference of these original alchemy books and modern ones. Okay, guys, hopefully it makes sense. I know it does, but I'm just painting it like what it really is. I know, like, some of you, they're living that same shit. Shouldn't say shit, but what it is, manure that you then plant flowers in it. But some of us are picking up on exact same time fractals, exact same moment. You see, we're sensitive to that level. And so I noticed that not everybody, right? And so I separate some level, I will call it fiery, and the other one shining. And some people are shining and some people are fiery. The fiery ones deal with the darkest things, and so we feel them immediately. It comes to us. That's your job, motherfucker, right? Before it hits anybody else, it comes to us. Okay. And so we're the first responders. We are the trailblazers. We are the front line against demons. And so these types of souls called the fire one, and I'm one of them. But other people don't get to this, right? Other people, for example, they don't have to deal with such intensities, and that's why, for example, you're just you see, like, if you're the fiery one and in your life is relatively good, Jesus Christ, do you know how gangster this is? That you manage to deal with all of that stuff and then still be kind of reasonably settled in the matrix. That it may not seem like a lot. They may see like, well, other people have achieved so much in the matrix. Yeah, but they didn't have to fight those demons every day, and you got that. But don't worry about it. I mean, it's gonna get better and better because you have the real gold. Okay, you're betting on that gold, that power, that capacity to create reality that is in your favor, but in the favor of your soul. You see? So that gold is so precious, keep on saying this. But again, look, I'm just watching people and I'm learning. It's fascinating stuff. I'm writing a book about this. I want to have this consciousness model that explains every single type of character, how it really is, the dark side and the light side of that. Like, for example, if somebody has a demon, a problem that is like a big problem, right? That's a huge potential for an angel. That's what it is. So that person that is, you know, have that dark ego has a, to me, the way I see it, they have a potential for the really cool angel. Because, like I said, like if I wanted to be evil, I would be really freaking evil. I tell you that, just because of my energy, just because of the intensity. But I chose not to be evil. I chose to be good, and that means that I chose alchemy and not some black magic nonsense. Okay. And it's real. Okay. I'm just keep saying it because it's so. Maybe I just need to convince myself of it. No, but I know it is real. I'm not convincing myself. I'm trying to convince you, I suppose. But I don't need to do that, because if you get this, you get this. See, this is like that additional move that my consciousness is making is not necessary. It's wasted energy. Okay. So, the language of the Taurus field. And so you speak with your soul every time you meet the people. You speak with your energy. Okay. And then, only then, that energy goes into the more of a complex structures of the mind, and it goes there as this quality feeling, and it takes some sort of form, and then that's mind language. There's a soul language, and then there's a mind language, and form and patterns is a mind language. Soul language is just like that ether, that music. That's soul language. It's just waves, like feelings, and then it just becomes more and more particle like, and that's mind. And it's just like half wave, half particle. That's your mind. That's why in the astral reality, when you're like manifesting something, it'd be like, we're trying to imagine something. It may be like kind of blurry, but you tune to it and you're like, oh yeah, and you kind of focus on it, right? And you're seeing it. And so you just basically conjured an object, a real object. And so it's amazing to me, this shit. So amazing. So that's astral projection. So whenever you're like actually projecting and you are intending to create something there, that's your order of what you want to come in into the physical. Imagination also has that capacity, and sometimes people can get so good at that imagination that it's just like almost like they are actually projecting at the same time they're in physical, basically, right? That capacity could be there, and I'm learning this language. But I just started with a soul language, so okay. And so I started seeing everything as language, and it's not a new concept, right? It's just that the way I started seeing. I think Terence McKenna said that reality is language, and now I see it. It really is language. It really is like the type of codes, and and the game is always communicating. It's always a game of communication and playing games with each other, and say like, hey, look, I have these patterns, these types of games. Do you want to go for a ride? And if somebody says yes, you like, you take them through that freaking roller coaster, and then, hey, how was it? And you're like, mind blown, right? That's the communication. I say like, hey, look, I got this experience packed in my shotgun. Do you want it launched? Okay. And the same thing, like when you're doing sports, dancing, like martial arts, for example, when you're doing like what is going on there? There's a communication, it's a language, it's a patterns. Each single move you make, it is a pattern, it's a language. You're communicating. But in this particular environment in martial arts, it's basically a battle of languages. It's like two AI, battling out which has a superior language within those rules. So there's a rule set, and now so like, is my pattern superior to your pattern within that rule set? And that's the game of fighting, and that's a masculine competitive game, and that allows a man to improve the quality of its patterning. Okay. And so that makes you good at that game. See. And but there's so many different games in life. um you usually going to have one game primarily that you're playing, um and then there's other games, but you can't really focus on too many at once, because it's just not the way it works, right? This is why, like, if somebody's practicing one particular game and they're really good at it, and you're practicing another particular game and you're really good at, it's awesome. You say, like, that's just the way it's supposed to be. Complementary, you see. Now, and of course the physical language is the sounds that I'm making, and now what the gestures that you're seeing me making, it's that physical language, right? There's communication there. But you could also watch the video, and you could also be feeling the same depth of feelings that I'm feeling. Okay, so you can also obviously communicate to me on the soul level as well, or even mind level, right? If you tune into my mind and the patterns and all that stuff, and because you can do that, you don't have to, like, the things that I say here is one thing, but it may sort of trigger all sorts of patterns in your mind, and that's also communication, because your mind may start synchronizing to mind and start having the same types of ideas, or like whichever perspective you take is going to be part of the same holographic projection of the idea that, see what I'm trying to say. So you can synchronize with people and like that as well. So you see, so there's this three worlds at once going on. You gotta speak this heart language, mind language, and the physical language. And when you do this through all three, that's when the mastery comes in some particular skill that you can be good at. And you pick that skill and you do it, and that's what you do. And there is this mastery. I realize that the mastery is when you are doing it through with your heart, mind, and body. Not, and you see what I'm trying to say. When it's everything's throughout, then that genius is online. So yeah. And I have strong desire, very strong desire to excel in one of those games, 2 or 3, I suppose. I would like to be really good at 3 games of life, where you reach mastery, and not just like to show off or anything like that, because you don't care about that at that point, but just to be able to be in that mode of creation that is just incredible. And like I said, I've had glimpses of that, and maybe they're supposed to be glimpses, I don't know, but I had more. Well, probably you can have more of them, but they come and go. They're not a continuous state, because it's a state of creation. and you feel that creation happening in your soul as energy. And it's coming all these feelings. This is incredible. Then you see the mind intending and creating patterns that um of movement and whatnot, right? That are almost like before the body makes them, you create them in your mind. So then the body kind of follows your mind, and it's if if the mind is intending and is already painting the picture, then the body follows that movement rather than relying on its own body memory, which could be sort of not ideal. And so this energy, that feeling, and this mind brings something into the movement that you could not do it unless you're connected with all your heart, mind, and body. And that's and then when you're in that state, it's just like, what the it's incredible, it's exhilarating, it's powerful, it's real, it's like, holy fuck. And so you want to be in that state. And to me, this is like a real success. This is what it's not nothing to do with ego at this point, but there's this depth of creation that the soul desires. And that's the soul desire that I was keep talking about. And see, it's nothing to do with the ego, because you just want to be in that creative process. That's why you're doing it, not on external things, but you want to be in that genius mode just because it feels so amazing. It's like, when you're in that peace bliss on the sort of like static, okay, that's great, but imagine if that energy starts moving and creating music. And so when that's in a perfect coherence, where there's chaos level is so high in that, but someone there's a coherence, and that's that's what we call elegance and beauty. So then basically your soul is striving to experience that beauty, that elegance. It's not that peace bliss that is in the background. When it's there and it's great, and the soul has all that capacity, to use it to create, but it's just an ink. It's not a goal. Like, this is what I'm even talking about, this peace bliss. It's not the goal. You see, like, you may think like, oh my God, this is what the point is. No, through the alchemy, you get that peace bliss anyway. It's just like a potential. You didn't do it for that. You understand? You didn't do it for that. That you just gain potential. Now you can freaking use this and start creating something and going into new unknowns and learning a skill that puts you in this creative mode, right? And it just feels thrilling and amazing, and that's the soul desire. And I want everybody to be in that creative process of soul desire, you see. But and playful, I should say, also. Because we can get to a certain degree by ourselves in that skill, right? But then you're gonna to create something more out of it, you're gonna have to link up with other people and co-create, right? But I think it's a good idea to just see how far you can go by yourself, and then see how what else you can take that skill, that's the way I would see it. But again, it's real. It doesn't look like it doesn't pretend to look like it. It's very important to actually go to your soul desires through this direction, and not still through, like, lack and all that stuff. You see how different it is. This is real success. But look how much you have to go through, and you have to live in your heart, you got to live in your mind, you got to live in your body. It's intense. So yeah, we do it. Okay, so there, that's my little trip. That's my little trip. Oh, reality is language, and the game is to learn to speak that language. It's amazing, like, you know. So this is like what the AI is. Also, if you get, you know, you'll see. It appears that we can get better and better in these languages, right? And I'm not going to this these love languages. You see what I'm trying to say? Like, no, this is not what I'm talking about. um, I think it's just such a superficial layer that it's a consequence of so many things, that to take those labels and try to manage your life based on that is, it's not it, and that's not what I'm talking about. It's just like talking about language, not using it. But there's a real language, and we talk with each other, and we want to be in the middle of truth and love with every interaction. Meaning, no, I shouldn't say in the middle, but in a balance of. You always need to find like that happy medium between truth and love in every feeling that you encounter, which are people. You understand? Like, you notice that, like, when people enter your space, feel them in your heart, and you know what you're dealing with. And so now there's this communication going on with their soul, which with their soul, right? And if you're good in that communication, you kind of just going to ease them into your aura, massage them into your aura, into your, what you see. And of course, you know, I'm talking about it, but it's not visible. You know, it's cool to talk about this, but in real life, it's not visible. You just hang out with people, like, you know, I said before. It, there is no visible thing. It's done invisibly, but it's very tangibly real. And this is why it's so elusive, and this is why it's not that talked about, or, you know. I really think that just, unless, you know, the only way you can know that the language exists is just by going there in those feelings and understanding what it is. And, you know, also I went into this blind, completely blind, without any kind of preconceived notion, and it's given me all sorts of insights and realizations of how it all works without me reading a book. It has everything there already. You see, I'm writing a book rather than reading a book. This is why I'm not reading books right now. I have no interest, but I do have interest in writing it. So there you go. All right, guys. What else I can say? Like, the fact that you would know that it's a language, doesn't it just make you kind of chill? Is like, oh, okay, everything is a language, and now I just have to speak the language for the best optimal result, and see that. So I'm just functioning on all these three levels, and I'm decoding best possible outcomes for each situation, you know, based on each situation. And that's what you do, and I think that's where you can be like a good human being, is when you can do and speak that heart language, that mind language, and that body language. And of course, what are you saying depends on what you've discovered in the unknown. That's what you're going to be saying to people. So of course, what kind of authority you have to impose, for example, your aura onto people, unless it is the closest thing to source available. Okay. You see, it's closest thing to source available. Damn. And you know, another thing I want to say, before I had, well, there was this belief, you know, and well, look, I'm just being honest here. The people who experience the most intensity of time fractals, because of the trailblazing factor, there's this sometimes desire to have like take a break, you know, and have somebody else to take over for a little bit, right? Like, for example, why can't somebody else hold the space for me now, right? Like, why do I have to always do it myself? It is because of the level of the difficulty of the game we chose. In this particular permutation of the game, we don't get that somebody else is going to hold the space for us and stuff like that. We don't get it because we just chose this to be like adults. We get that as a consequence of us already dealing with that, and then it's coming into, you know, physical reality because we created that to happen. But just going into the physical reality and looking for it there, it doesn't work for us. We're never going to find it. Other people can, because other people are going to find it from somebody like you, right? So other people can lean upon you, but you can't lean on anybody. And it's just, you have to accept that freaking reality, you know. There was this like, and a very important belief in my mind is like, no, but there's got to be something there. There's got to be something that is free for me too. Why do you have to earn everything? And the answer is that no, there isn't, because you have to create even that, and then that will come. And it's just a feature of the trailblazer. You see? Yes, you can be closest thing to the source, but it also comes at the cost, because you are the only thing that closest thing to the source. So you don't get to look up to somebody, you know? Because you're the shit. But you know, I'm saying this with equal amount of truth and love. Great sesh, guys. Great sesh. So there you go. Now it's interesting. Like, even the laws of physics and the science is also language. It's amazing. Now it's interesting to me, because what is this language? You know, you can actually create a model of these languages, right? For example, if the state of my consciousness, that's a toroidal energy field, can that be measured? Can that be visualized as a toroidal field? And you can say, oh, that's how joy looks like, or that's how, you know, sadness looks like, or that's how bliss looks like, oh, that's how peace looks like. That's more peace. You see what I mean? Like, you can see that in an electromagnetic toroidal field somewhere on the screen. I can imagine, like, this is what I want to see on my screen, that toroidal field that is actually showing emotions based on its states. And you know, I don't know how like, I think this is supposed to be the basis of the model of consciousness, and then little by little we can add upon it until we actually have a perfect model of consciousness that is actually not just a metaphor, but is actual electromagnetic and metaphysical energies that are visualized there. Okay, that's the way I see it, and that's why it would be universal, because it's based on geometry and physics and visual. Q, you don't need even the like a book. Like for example, you could just look at that and say like, oh, that's how it looks like when I'm like this. Oh, that's just like when I was in pain, and this is how, you know. I wonder how far you can go and to see that, and to see the process of decoding and what you do with the consciousness when something just comes in. It's kind of fire, and then you're gonna kind of have to like give it space, but then go into it and just like, there's that thing going on, right? There's this language, there's this work going on with that thing, alive. It's like a something super intelligent, just kind of resolving that impossible problem. Oh my God, you know, that's what it is. That is what it is. It's the language. Isn't it cool? Now I'm gonna be paying a lot more attention to this. I mean, I'm gonna keep on building this model, man, because I think that this model would be like a holy grail in consciousness. Yeah, I said it. I don't care. Um, and I don't know that also, if there's an acceptance of that model, the level of acceptance of that model in society, that's the level of um, advancement of the society, I should say. That's, I would even say that. And the more and more people accept that model and live by it, the better the reality gets. It's a language, guys. Everything is language. Everything is patterns, and you know, it's like even I'm learning dancing, and I can obviously see that like, oh my God, this is a language. You're speaking with your body. You're saying something. You better be saying something, but you could just move just the body just to move. A lot of people dance like that, but you can say something with your heart as you move your body. You can speak with your heart as you dance. It's a language. And so you can dance just the physical moves, or you can dance through speaking and meaning what you say. You mean that movement. Okay. And so that's where we are. And you can talk to people in your heart all the time. And again, like I said, the communication is always about it's not a compromise. It's not a compromise. It is always an invitation, you know, depending where you are, you know. Because let's see, because if you are dealing with the deepest levels, then that's it. There's nobody else you can look up to, but because you're already with the source. With the source. The Bolognese sauce. Okay. I feel like I have to wrap it up now because it's almost 1 hour. So you can speak with people. That's what I was gonna say. Isn't it freaking cool? You can speak with their souls. And you know what? I do speak with their souls. And when I speak with their souls, then there's only truth and love, and there's this agreement there. You know what the fuck is up, but that doesn't mean that it's gonna necessarily come out immediately in the physical reality, and that's what bums me out. That bums me out. And you know what bums me out the most? I think it's like when you feel something in your heart, and you're communicating with someone else, that feeling, and you know that that's what you're saying to each other, but they post or say something else, and to me it's kind of, man, like, you are not coming from the heart. You're just saying some self-protective crap right now, but I know what you're really feeling right now. And so it's kind of, to me, it's so much more fun just to drop that programming and just come from the heart, the way you feel it in the moment. Because you have to speak with other people, at least by now, not just with your words, but with your heart too. You gotta speak with them like that as well. Right? Of course, guys, of course. You know it. You know it. Yeah, man. Like, and sometimes these conversations can get heated, speaking with somebody in your heart. Um, but like, you can even have opponents, because when you speak with somebody in your heart, like, you work shit out in your heart, but then still, in physical reality, you may need to correct things, and set the physical reality boundaries. That's normal. But then you have just an opponent. You don't have an enemy anymore, right? And it's going to be much easier to deal with the opponent when it's not your enemy. Fact. So there is this conversation. I will trust and go by the way I feel, right? Because to me, at this point in my life, like, I'm done kind of playing these games, because I can see that I could just go straight to their heart, and so I don't have to worry about like what's coming from the heart, because that's supposed to be coming from the heart. I don't want to do it in any other way. And the reaction in people from it sometimes could be sort of, too much kind of truth, like, oh, they're not used to, because they live in lies and all that stuff. So, but yeah, it came from the heart. That's it. It's just like, it came from the heart, because that's the best possible, that thing that came from the heart is the best possible feeling that it can create. So everybody needs supposed to adapt and get used to feeling good, rather than insisting on feeling bad, which is essentially what you do when you back down on your lies and deceit and all that stuff. So there's this language going on. And it's really cool to look at it. It's just like this. Really, what's really going on is this code is just being ran, and the only actual control you have is that where you look. Like, that's essentially the control you have. if you look this way and that way in that particular way, that's what you're gonna get. And so that looking and moving, this is the only art that you gotta learn. And then if you learn, everything else falls into place. Seek the kingdom of God, and everything else will be added onto you. But it seems to be there is a control there. There is a type of control. People say it's an illusion of control, but I see it changing things for real. Because you're just like buzzing in that mode. So then everything has to match that. You see, guys? So there. And I know, I mean, why all of the responsibility is on you. But it's not a curse, it's a blessing. But you got to take it. With great power comes great responsibility. Or with great responsibility comes great power as well. So, but it's just that word responsibility is just like you responding to the time fractals in a correct and proper way. So you're just being responsive to everything. You know, people say don't respond with emotions and all that stuff, but respond through the other side. It's not about no response because then you just try to be neutral. No, you just like, because you feel the energy came into your reality, right? And then the energy is going to flow some way. Are you going to get that energy in the coherence, or are you going to get that energy in the conflict? So in order to get that energy to coherence, you have to meet that energy and work with it, with that intelligence, until you almost like catch it and let it calm down in that field. Isn't it interesting? I told you in previous video that alchemy ultimate goal is perfect relationship to every type of soul. That's just like a boss mode. But you know, you don't try to get there because but that's where you're at really, ultimately, especially because you're playing the game. You know, it's impossible not to end up there because you're playing it right, you know, maybe for the first time in your life. So it's like I see the world so differently, the way the society sees it, that I even look at it from this way, like, fuck, everything has to be rebuilt. Like, the science must be holistic science, if you will. The only real science is holistic. And fuck that matrix science, you know? It's just backwards way approaching civilization, you understand? That's the way I see it. Which is alright, and little by little, that reality is just going to be imposed onto this reality. You see, as a superior way of being. Just literally, you outcompete the matrix. You offer something so much better, and you outcompete the matrix. And that's what we're gonna do. Look at the beef. Yeah. Nah, I need a little bit more beef there. Dangerous guns. Yeah, I don't know. I could be in the movies. Enough of this nonsense. Alright, guys. See what's up? I hope you do. Peace, and I'll see you in the next one.